Hi, and welcome to this episode of From the Field Digital Literacies. I'm Lee Hall. I am an Associate Professor of Literacy Studies at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and I'm very excited to welcome you to this channel that is going to focus on literacy teaching tips. This series from the field is going to be available when I'm doing research, and so right now I've done some research on digital literacies in middle schools. And so I'm going to be bringing you updates and thoughts about how you can implement things that I'm seeing in the field going on in schools right now, how you can make them happen in your own classroom. And so what I want to do with this series, which is going to be on digital literacies, is in today's episode, I want to start by giving you an overview of digital literacies. And then in future episodes, we will go from there. So first of all, when we use the term digital literacies, what do we mean? And I'm going to tell you right now that this is what I've given you here is a little thin on the surface. It's a little superficial, but it's a starting place. And as we move through this, we will continue to deepen and expand our definition of what digital literacies are. But we need to start somewhere. So when I'm talking about digital literacies right now, I'm talking about the ability to use digital tools for learning and communication. Students need to be able to use digital tools to learn information. They also need to be able to share ideas, information, questions, etc. With an audience bigger than themselves and their teacher. So that fits into the ability to produce and share knowledge digitally. And then finally, they also need to be able to read and write in a digital environment. Now, what are some examples of digital literacies? Again, there's tons and tons of examples. These are some really common examples just to get you thinking. The ability to, when you're doing an internet search, students need to know how to identify keywords to conduct that search and conduct it efficiently and effectively. They need to know how to critically evaluate multiple sources of information that they get returned to them from that search. They also need to know what to do when they find conflicting pieces of information online, because sometimes that'll happen. There'll be different points of view on a subject. What do you do about that, right? We need to help students with that. And then they also need to know how to write for a digital audience. If you're having students write, but they are posting their work online, who's reading that, right? And what does it mean to write for people that you're likely never going to meet, right? What does that mean? What do you need to know and be able to do in order to do that well? So digital literacies are somewhat similar. They draw on similar skills to reading and writing in traditional formats in non-digital environments, but they're also different, okay? So when students are, for example, reading online, they're going to have to navigate multiple sources on multiple sites often at once. So a key difference here is that when you're reading, if you're using paper-bound books, you might have 3 or 4 or 5 books, but those books are all static, right? Whereas when you're reading online, you can read a paragraph and see a link that looks interesting and click on that link and go somewhere else, and then click on a link and go somewhere else. So the information comes at you a lot quicker, or it has the potential to come at you a lot quicker when you are reading online. And I said the second point before, if you're writing for an audience, you have to envision who that audience is, right? If you're writing for your teacher for a grade, you know who that is, and you know as a student what your teacher wants. If other students are reading your work, you might know them personally. But when you're writing for a digital audience, you don't know who they are by and large, or you won't know who all of them are, that's for sure. So we need to think about what that means and what kinds of pieces of information need to be included so that a much broader audience can understand what you're writing. And then all of a sudden, in a digital environment, as a student, you have greater access to the people that are writing the information, right? You've got greater access to authors and illustrators and scientists and people that are creating knowledge. And the potential exists that you can engage with them and talk to them and ask them questions and get feedback, that you can even just read their blogs, right? And get current updates and see what they're thinking and what's going on in ways that traditional publishing doesn't allow, right? And digital environments also allow students to be creators of knowledge and share what they're learning. So it's not just consumers anymore. Now we have to think about, what does it mean to be a creator? So in subsequent videos, we're going to be talking about how you can engage your students in ways that promote academic and digital literacies in school, right? So how do you help your students learn academic content, but how are you also doing that in a way where you're using technology and you're using it really well to promote these types of digital literacies? So if you've got any questions, please feel free to contact me, literacyteachingtips@gmail.com. I am happy to structure future videos around questions and ideas that you have. They can be on digital literacies, they can be on anything else, so please feel free to email me.